So for chapter 4, the new United States. So when was the Declaration of Independence adopted?
1776.
Good.
July
July
4.
7.
Good. That's when we had our Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of. So when we're talking about the new United States, we're really looking at times in the 1700s. So what year is it today?
Today, 2001. 2021.
2001, I was 11 years old. I was just a kid. 2021. So the beginning history for the United States as a country goes back to the 1700s when we had the freedom from the British king, and then we started making our own rules for a country. Okay, so let's look. Students, do you remember? What do we call the people who came from Europe and sailed across the ocean to the United States? They were the
Colony.
They lived in the colonies, but the people we call the colonists. Colonists. So these were people from Europe. And students, what ocean is on the east coast of the United States?
Atlantic.
Atlantic. Good. So the colonists sailed across the Atlantic Ocean, and they started to live and make new cities. And that's what we called where they lived and they made their homes. That's where we called the colonies. The colonies. And a colony is where you have a leader from somewhere else. So we can see right here is what we would call is the country of England, or sometimes people call it Britain. So Britain, yes. So this is where the king lived, and this is where the colonies were. So the colonies were very far away from the king. And did the people in the colonies, did they like the British king, or did they not like the British king?
Not like.
Good, yeah, they did not like the British king. Why? What was one reason they did not like the British king?
Because high taxes.
Good, high taxes. What's another reason they didn't like the British king?
Freedom.
Good. Yeah, no freedom to choose their leaders. They wanted to choose their own leaders. Good. So yeah, so the leader of the 13 colonies was the King of England. And the colonists are who came to the United States in the 1600s. So the colonists, like Nur Kareem just said, the colonists did not like the British king because of high taxes and they wanted to choose
Not,
their own
not,
leader.
not free.
Good. So what happened? The colonists didn't like the British king, and what did they do?
Fight.
They say that again, Aisha?
Fight.
Yeah, they fight.
Fight.
And what do we call it? What's the name? What's happening in this picture? So they're fighting, but what do we call that type of fighting?
Civil War.
Civil War.
Oh, not
Not
a
civil
civil war, but it is a war. Good.
war.
A war. Yeah. So that's sort of fighting. So whenever we have people fighting, and this was the colonists fighting the British king, we call it a war. So you can see on page 50, they say a war is a fight between two countries. But then you can also, so in English, that's what we would say a war is, but then is between two countries, or like Nur Kareem said, you can have a civil war, and that's a fight in the country. Like right now in Burma, the civil war between the military and the people.
Yeah, the public, yeah.
And that's like the civil war in the United States was the North versus the South. So a civil war is when there's a war in the country.
War in the country, yes.
Good. But when we talk about this, just a war, that's when we have that fight between two countries.
Yes.
What's another war you can think of? What's a war from the 1900s?
World War II.
World War II? And what countries did the United States fight in World War II?
Japan.
Japanese, Italy,
Germany, Italy.
Good, yeah. Japan, Germany, and Italy. So again, a war is a fight between two or more countries. Does and we see these people. What do we call the people who fight in the war?
This is British Army.
Yeah, good. That's the army.
Army, British Army.
Army, good. And army, we think about like the yes or no vocabulary word, military unit.
Military.
And what is a military unit?
Group of soldiers who protect their government.
Good. A group of soldiers who protects the government. So the British Army was protecting the British king, and then the colonists were fighting the British king because they wanted to make their own government. Sorry, students, it's a busy day for the fire trucks on my street. I hope everyone is okay. Maybe some people having too much fun on a Friday. Good. So yeah, so the colonists were angry at the British king and they fought the British army. Now, each war has a name like World War II, World War I, and this is something they don't ask, but the name of this war was the Revolutionary War. That's what we call this war for American independence. The Revolutionary War. Good. Okay. And so again, for the 100 questions, who would like to read this question? Okay, you can read it.
Why?
Why did the colonists fight the British?
Good. And can someone remind me, why did the colonists fight the British?
Was fighting
Because high
High
taxes.
taxes.
Because of high taxes.
yes.
And what's another thing you could say that would be correct?
No, not
To choose of our leader.
They wanted
They
to
wanted
choose their
to
own
choose
yeah,
their own leader.
Good. Like they wanted to choose their own
Their own leader.
leader, like a president,
yes.
senators. Good.
We are colonists.
Good. So let's see. Hassan, why did the colonists fight the British?
Because of high tax,
Yep.
they want to try choose their own leader.
Very good. Yeah, because of high taxes, and they wanted to choose their own leaders. Good. Okay. So, who would like to read for us?
Sana.
Okay, Nurkareen.
Sana.
Oh, Roxana wants to read. Good,
What did the colonists want?
good, good. And will you read before that too, the top part? During?
Colonists want choose only leader.
Yeah, they wanted to choose their own leader. They wanted their own government.
They want the freedom.
And what did they write? So, or here, let's actually, before I ask this question, let's talk about, so we know the Declaration of Independence was adopted July 4th, 1776.
76.
What does declaration mean?
So that the United States is free.
Say that again, Aisha?
So that the United States is free.
That's what it said, correct? So a declaration is to say something. When you declare something, you're saying something.
Leader.
Good. Yeah, to say something, a letter. Whoops. Sorry, students. Sorry, I hit something weird. There you go. So yeah, a declaration is when we're saying something. So to say something, or here on page 52, it says a letter for everyone to read. So we can see this Declaration of Independence is a letter. And what does independence mean?
And then mean
Freedom.
Freedom. Good. So declaration is saying something is to say something, and independence means freedom. Freedom. That's why, and when do we celebrate Independence Day?
July.
July 4.
Good. So that's why on July 4th, everybody likes to celebrate freedom. Good. Okay, so now let's look at that 100 question. What did the Declaration of Independence do?
It said the United States is free.
Good, yeah. It said the United States
Yes.
is free.
From Great Britain.
And who were they free from?
From Great Britain.
They were free from Britain. So you could also
British.
say, yeah, you could say that the United States was free from the British rule, from Britain.
From
Good.
British.
Okay, let's see. Muterlair, what did the Declaration of Independence do?
It said the United States is free.
Good. And let's see. Mumina, why did the colonists fight the British?
Because high taxes.
Because of high taxes. Good. And then we'll just do one more 100 question and we'll finish for today. So, okay. So what, I said, what did the Declaration of Independence say? But the 100 question is, what are two rights in the Declaration of Independence?
Life and liberty.
Good. So the first one, life.
Life and liberty.
Number two,
Liberty.
Liberty.
Good. What is the name for this statue?
Liberty. Liberty.
Liberty.
Good. It's the Statue of Liberty.
Liberty.
And where is the Statue of Liberty?
New York Harbor.
New York Harbor. New York City.
We are Harbor, New York City.
City.
Good. Yeah. New York Harbor, New York City. Good. So yeah, this statue is liberty. So liberty again means like freedom. So everybody has the right to life, to live their own life. As long as they're not hurting anyone else, you're free to live your life and to have your freedom. Good.